AI is everywhere right now, but a lot of the conversations around it feel overwhelming or just plain out of alignment for heart led business owners. That is why my mastermind decided to get together to have a real public conversation about how we are actually using AI, what's working, what's still feeling messy, and how it's changing the way we run our businesses. Welcome to the Soulful Sales Show, where we talk about believing in the value of your offers, getting them in front of your right people, and selling more of what you do in your unique way. Hi, and welcome back to the Soulful Sales Show. So today's episode is a little bit different. Today, I am sharing the recording of an extra special panel that I did together with members of my mastermind, all about how we are using AI in our businesses. So this panel includes me, Destiny Kopp, Kate Cordsmeyer, Liz Stapleton, Tara Reid, and Steph Blake. And I am going to include all of their links in the show notes for this episode, so check them all out. So why did we host this panel, which by the way was totally pitch free and you didn't even need to opt in for it? And if you missed it, spoiler alert, there are going to be more of these coming because it was super fun. It was a really fun way to take people behind the scenes of how we are experimenting with AI. And we are not AI experts. We are values-led business owners trying to find ways to help it support us. We're all very busy. We want to save time and capacity instead of feeling overwhelmed and like we have to keep up with everything. It was such a good conversation that this is the reason why I knew I had to bring it to this podcast. We covered everything from practical stuff like how we're using AI for ideas, how we're using it to improve our sales pages, all of that stuff, to personal stuff like how we are feeling about using AI, how we're feeling about keeping up with all the changes and all of that. And just a quick heads up before we dive in, the sound quality isn't the best on this recording. We didn't have the original recording, so we're using the note taker recording, which is always lesser quality, annoyingly. But the conversation is just so good. I didn't want you to miss it just because the sound's not as good as normal. And if you are feeling inspired, if this conversation sparks something for you, then I know you are going to love my Aligned AI Summit, which is coming very, very soon. It's happening on September the 8th to the 11th. And you're going to hear many of the voices from this panel, including Destiny Kopp, Kate Cordsmeyer, Tara Reid, and Liz Stapleton. Plus, Steph Blake is also joining us for a panel discussion during the summit about using AI to free up our capacity and energy. And there are also over 30 more other incredible speakers. It's free and it's designed to help you simplify your business, boost your income, and save energy with AI that doesn't make you feel like a robot or that you are selling your soul. And yeah, as well as that panel I mentioned on freeing up energy and capacity with AI, we're also going to have 2 more live panels. I mean, I can't get enough of these kind of conversations like the one I'm about to share with you, which is why I have 3 panels scheduled for the Aligned AI Summit. The other 2 are about selling and marketing AI shortcuts. And then the third one is about creating and selling AI infused offers or using AI to help us scale our offers. And then, of course, we have the regular speaker presentations, which are all pre-recorded on topics like AI for nervous system regulation, supporting clients with custom bots, getting cited by AI versus traditional SEO, launch planning, execution, all of the, like, there's just so much. It is so, so good. And there is, of course, a bot to help you decide which presentations to prioritize and which you personally need. So you don't need to watch them all. It's about tuning into the ones that are going to help you with what you are working on right now. Anyway, I have been talking for long enough, so just go get your free ticket at alignedAIsummit.com. Go get it today because it is starting soon and you are absolutely not going to want to miss it. And yeah, I hope you enjoy this panel conversation with me and some of the other people from my mastermind. It was so much fun. Like I said, we are going to have more conversations. The next one is going to be about traffic, especially traffic without social media. That is coming on the 25th of September. If you're on my email newsletter, I will send reminders before that happens. So yeah, enjoy.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Summer of AI panel. I'm so excited to be here with you all today. We have a lot of amazing ideas to talk about and some A lot of note takers in here also from our crew. We always laugh that our mastermind calls are half humans, half AI note takers. So here we go. You all get to see it in real time. And basically, this is part, everybody here is in a peer mastermind with myself, Kate Kordsmeyer, if you're new to me. We're all in the same group here. We've got a few extras or a few others that are not here with us today. But we thought it would be fun to basically invite y'all into one of our mastermind sessions where we're just talking about how we're using AI and oh, I just learned this cool thing and I found this new tool. And what do y'all think about this? I'm trying to create, this thing in my business. Do you have a way to do this? And just kind of give y'all a peek behind the curtain a little bit. A lot of us have really gone all in on AI, hence the summer of AI after talking about it at nauseum for the last year. We were like, we really need to claim this territory of ours and, stop letting everybody else show up as the experts when we have a lot to share too. So welcome everybody. Why don't we go around quickly and just introduce ourselves like, 1 minute each in case anybody here. We all invited our audiences, so we're going to have a lot of different folks. I know we have a lot of crossover too. Ruth, you want to start us out?
Thank you, Kate. Hi, everyone. I am Ruth Poundby. I can see a few names in the chat that I recognize. So hi, and hi to everyone I don't know as well. I am a business and self-belief coach. And yeah, I've totally forgotten what I'm supposed to be introducing, but that's what I do. And I support people in my courses and my Soulful Sales Society membership. And I also host the Soulful Sales Show podcast. Hopefully that's enough of an intro. Shall I pass it on to Destiny?
Great.
Yeah. So I'll jump in. I'm a business growth coach for digital product entrepreneurs. I also have my hobby school brand, which is my B2C brand, and I'm super excited to be here today and chat about all things AI. Steph, I'll turn it over to you.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Steph Blake. I do a lot of different things. Let's just be real. I do a lot of things. But I guess if you want to put a title on me, you can call me a business consultant and a tech nerd. That's what I usually call myself. And I have 3 different companies. The first is Simple Business Suite. It's an all-in-one platform to help you simplify your business. Second, I do consulting to help online entrepreneurs simplify and automate their businesses. And the third is called Create and Escape, where we host monthly events to help you just kind of come back to yourself, reconnect to yourself without burning out. So I'm really excited to be here. I love to have these conversations, and I know that we're going to share a lot with you. So thanks. Thanks for being here. Thanks for joining us.
Why don't you popcorn it off to somebody else?
Yeah, Liz, go ahead.
Thank you, Steph. I'm Liz Stapleton, and I help bloggers and online business owners understand the legal side of things over at elizabethstapleton.com. You might know me from the Blogger Breakthrough Summit that I run annually with its aim to help you kind of be more efficient and systemized so that you're spending less time working while earning more and actually building a business around, your life instead of the other way around. And Tara, I think you're last, right? Is that everyone?
Yeah, I think so. Hi, I'm Tara. I've been an online business entrepreneur for 18 years. Right now, I call myself a marketing and business strategist, and I primarily help other introverted entrepreneurs with more organic marketing strategies and getting seen online. I've recently been building a lot of AI apps, so I'm super excited about this panel, and I know this is going to be awesome.
Yay. Awesome. And I'm Kate Kordsmeyer, like I said at the beginning, and I have Success with Soul. I think I feel like it's a little bit of a broken record. We all have quite similar businesses doing similar things. So we'll just get into the conversation today. So this is definitely meant to be interactive. Anybody here who has questions, please put them in the chat. We definitely want to make sure that we are answering your questions first and foremost. I've got a couple talking points and some things that we wanted to share as well. But we did collect questions, so thank you in advance thank you to everyone who submitted questions in advance. But questions live in real time are also welcome. And so we'll just kind of start going around and answering those. And please let us know in the chat, like if you've tried some of the things that we're recommending, if you have a better way of doing something, any tools you're using and loving, we're here for all of it. So I guess let's get started with this question that we got in advance, which is, what is your take on creating and selling AI bots, and how do we price them? So Destiny, I know that you've been doing this a lot inside your programs. Do you want to start us off here?
Yeah, so I am not selling them separately. Right now, I am only putting them together and bundling them in with a particular workshop or program or offer that we have. And I'll give you some examples here. Like, for instance, one of the workshops that I'm doing this month in my digital product growth lab is all about fixing your funnel. So going in and kind of diagnosing your funnel. So with that particular workshop, I have a custom GPT that we're going to use during that workshop. So it's really just bundling in and integrating it into the programs and workshops and everything that I'm doing. A B2C example would be something we've done in hobby school with one of our planners. I use this as an example because it's a really cool example. So our Halloween planner that we put together last year, we also put together a custom GPT for it and bundled it in. And it was really as if they had a costume designer sitting next to them as they went through and kind of planned out their costume. So again, I think the question might have been related to selling them kind of separately. There's a lot of platforms out there where you can go buy these custom GPTs, behind firewalls and so on and so forth, that you can price them out and sell them separately. But I've just kind of taken the approach that I am bundling them into the workshops and offers and products that I already have.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that a lot of us, again, this is something we've all been kind of learning and working on together inside our own mastermind here, and sharing some ideas of what's kind of what we're trying, what we're seeing. And I think there's a lot of different ways you can do this. And of course, I always say everything works, what works for you. I think we're still in such early days with this, with AI, I guess. And so I think there's a lot of testing and tweaking and just trying things and seeing what works. So I see that there's a kind of follow-up question to this in the chat, which is about how do you limit access after a member leaves? And so I think this is something that all of us are trying to figure out right now. It's really easy to create custom GPTs. Currently, OpenAI does not have a way to password protect those or to embed them on a third-party website, but there are tons of tools that do exist that you can do that with. We can share in the chat and here as well out loud some of those tools that we're testing out right now. I know for me, I'm looking into a few AppSumo tools. So Mazal, we never know how to say this one actually. Mazal, one of those. It's Mazaal. Is one that I'm looking at. Tiny Talk is another. There's also some tools that aren't on AppSumo right now called Rad Genius. There's one called Pickaxe, which is probably the most commonly known one, but it's also one of the more expensive ones. And so I think that kind of one of the ways that we're working with this is figuring out how important is it for this tool to be gate kept and password protected over time versus something that maybe is more one-off, or there's some workarounds. Ruth came up with a great plan of doing a password protection workaround inside the custom instructions for a GPT. It kind of works sometimes, doesn't work other times. So we've had some back and forth with that. But Ruth, do you want to add anything about this?
Yeah, so what I've been experimenting with is literally writing in some instructions to require a password before you can continue with the rest of the instructions in the custom GPT. And the idea being, because I use custom GPTs inside of my membership, that when members leave, eventually that password gets, reset probably on like a monthly basis. I haven't really got a proper rhythm with it yet. And it does work a lot of the time, but as with everything you're programming into custom GPT. So for example, I tried to create one that picked random suggestions for people. It was very hard to get it to be truly random. There are limitations when you're putting in the instructions. So the password doesn't work all of the time. Something I have seen other people doing is hooking it up via Make or something like that, and checking whether someone's a member, like cross-checking their email addresses. That is not something I've experimented with myself, but there are ways that people are playing with, and we are playing with, to protect it within ChatGPT itself, because we're always kind of going back and forth with like, is it worth paying for an extra service? I mean, it's worth it in terms of protecting your creation, but it's also the ease of use for our clients, right? And a lot of people just want to get into ChatGPT, have that chat within ChatGPT. So there's pros and cons of both. And yeah, what we are testing works a lot of the time, but not all of the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Liz, you want to add something?
Yeah, so I think part of it just depends. So the user experience, like we're all used to like ChatGPT, and stuff. So I agree with what Ruth said there. And it really, I think the only time you really need to work on trying to protect it in some way is if it is some sort of membership. Like if it's a one-off thing that they buy, like I'm not going to stress that at all, right? Like they paid for it, they can have the custom GPT. I mean, I guess if they ask for a refund, but then maybe you just need to revisit your refund policy. And then as far as like memberships go, because I do have a membership and I'm restructuring it, the way I'm looking at it as I am restructuring it is, stuff's going to drip out month by month. So they'll get it each month, a different one. And, once they have access, they have access. Like they stayed in the membership that long to get access to that one. So I'm going to consider it paid for. It just kind of depends. If it's like they can, as soon as they join the membership, they have access to absolutely everything, then I think that's something you're definitely going to want to think about a little bit more, where you're doing password protection or using another tool. But just kind of maybe require you to rethink how you're offering your products, and just a shift can make it be like, it's not that big a deal if they just have it.
Right.
Yeah, I want to offer another perspective to that as well. So I sell a lot of my AI bots just as one-offs, but all of ours are basically created as separate products inside of our like course portal, right? So they're created as a separate product and then they're embedded inside of that. And my concern wasn't even like, I wasn't even worried about like members leaving. It was more of like, I don't want people sharing this with other people who haven't paid for it. That was my big concern, especially with like custom GPTs. I personally don't even use custom GPTs. I build all of mine from scratch, either through Pickaxe, like Kate mentioned, or through other like custom coding apps, which is like super nerdy, and I'm not going to get into that too much right now. But I would say that that's one of the biggest reasons why I gatekeep those, because I don't want people like giving stuff away for free, because it's happens far too often without a lot of people realizing it. So that's why I just like literally password protect it, embed it so that you can only get it if you have the password, and it's like literally inside your own customer portal.
Yeah, I think that feature is going to be something that I hope OpenAI allows us to do more easily without needing another tool. I know last week OpenAI went through a big custom GPT shift, and it was down for a while, and we were all having our fingers crossed that like, ooh, maybe they're going to make this so that we can actually embed it into other tools and websites, because it is honestly one of the best ways to create a bot. And we found lots of limitations with some of those other third-party tools where they're just like not as good at going through the knowledge base and really, using the information that you're giving it. But again, I feel like we're all just in the early days of this. And so a lot of what we talk about is that we're trying things, and then we're even buying tools, and especially if we're getting them like a lifetime pass on AppSumo. I know Destiny's helped me get into this mindset of like, yeah, the tool might not be perfect right now, but if we got it for a good price and we never have to pay for it again, it might be worth hanging on to, because as they're improving and getting feedback and learning, maybe it will one day be a tool that's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I got this for a lifetime fee for $29 or whatever. So Let's move on to some of the other questions. The next one we have
Wait,
here.
Kate, before we go, sorry, there was
Yeah.
a second part to that of how do we price these? And I
Oh,
just
yeah.
want to talk about that really quickly too, because that's a consideration that you have to think about that. Because if you are creating something, like for example, if you're using Pickaxe, right, you're still paying for usage, right? So they're going through your OpenAI
Like your tokens.
token, yeah. So even if you sell this thing for $7 one time, if that person uses that thing every day for the next 5 years, you will continue to be paying for that. So especially when it comes to selling one-off products, you have to make sure that you're pricing that really strategically so that you're accounting for costs. So whenever I price mine, I'll go into ChatGPT and I'll say, okay, here's the average amount that I think somebody would use this. How much should I price this at? And then it'll like do a bunch of calculations that I don't understand how it's doing. And then it'll give me a price that I think, okay, if this person uses this every day for the next 5 years, great. The fact of the matter is most people will not use it for that long. So then you're still covering your costs. Whereas with a membership, it's different, right? Like they're going to be using it while they're a member. So that's much easier to price versus a one-off. So I don't know if anybody else has anything they want to share with that too.
And again, it's easier to, one of the reasons I prefer doing it in custom GPTs is because you don't have to pay for usage, right? Like it's free if they're on their free plan or they're paying for their usage. So
Right.
again, hopefully that will change, but that's a really good point. If you're not using it in a custom GPT and you're actually paying for a tool to make sure that's
Well,
covered.
and I think they're going to do something to change that. This is just my thought. I don't think they're going to let you embed. I don't, because in my mind it seems like Facebook, right? It's like Facebook wants you to stay in the platform, and I think that ChatGPT is going to be the same way because you're staying in the platform, you're using the other GPTs, you're creating your own, right? And I think they will soon make it required for you to put your AI key in there in order to share it, or your token. So I don't know. That's my prediction. I don't know if it'll happen, but
Ruth, did you have something to add there?
I wanted to say as well, it's like pricing anything. There is such a huge like a potential for what you could charge. I have seen people charging like, like $47. I have seen people selling their custom GPTs that are trained on all of their kind of coaching and trainings and selling it for a couple of thousand. Like it seriously huge range. So, let your imagination go wild. I mean, obviously, there's probably a smaller portion of people who are going to pay a couple of thousand for a custom GPT, but if it's really a really high-end coach that would, you would have to spend tens of thousands to work with, then I guess I can see where that fits into their kind of offer ecosystem. And it's also, about the return on investment that people are going to get, like what are they going to get out of using it and pricing it based on that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Tara, do you have anything to add to this part of the conversation?
I feel like I'm kind of in there with the pricing too, because I am building these like standalone tools through Lovable. And they're all connected to my OpenAI key. So that's something that I'm definitely in the weeds in right now and definitely working through myself. But
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I just saw somebody the other day selling like, basically Kate clone GPT for $1,000. And I was like, oh my God, $1,000? Like part of me thinks of it from the scalability perspective of like, it doesn't cost me anything besides potentially these tokens to have 1,000 people do this. So if you could price it that high, I mean, that's amazing. But then it also feels like, are people really going to be willing to pay that? So I think it's also just like going to be testing the market and seeing what's there and what are people willing to pay for and how unique is your GPT compared to what they could do just by talking to regular AI about something.
I think one other thing I just want to add to that, because I dropped a link to an app that I just created last week for anyone who wants to try it. And it's connected to my OpenAI key. So I actually did something different. I set a limit. So your IP address can only generate 30 generations per day. So that's another option when you're figuring out pricing, is to do something like that.
Yeah, that's great. And what's the app do that you shared, Tara?
It is a content repurposing tool. It's fabulous. I'm obsessed with it right now.
Awesome. All right, so we have another question here. I would love to know about your workflow for creating AI assisted or edited landing pages and using ChatGPT for newsletters. Who would like to start answering this one for us?
I can go.
Yeah, go for it.
So I do obviously have some custom GPTs with my own branding stuff built in, but especially on the newsletter front, as you guys know, I have my email marketing like Airtable database that does all the things, and I used ChatGPT to help me build it. But one of the things in my newsletter is like hey, here's what's new and happening in this industry, and I definitely use the ChatGPT deep research to like, hey, what's been happening in the last 30 days, dealing with this industry in regards to this. Like, I don't care about acquisitions so much. Like, sometimes that's interesting, and so it just very quickly gives me like this whole thing, and I'm gonna be like, hey, I want a blurb for this of what you talked about, and then I link to it, and then that section of my newsletter is done. So using the deep research to kind of search the news and just the web in general is very helpful in terms of getting that section of my newsletter done quickly and efficiently. But yeah, I mean, and then it's always a conversation with ChatGPT if I'm going to be using it for updating a page or something, and seeing what comes up with. It's never a hey, I need a sales page for this, and just copying what it gives me, right? Like, that's not how it works. But that's kind of my 2 cents. Is particularly for newsletters, is I do use the deep research function to have it give me just some quick answers, so I'm not having to spend forever searching.
Yeah, super smart. I'll say one thing that I do is that I've created a lot of my own custom GPTs that are, specialized in certain things. And so even like I have one that I have a training called my magnetic messaging map training, and it's a copywriting course. And I have a GPT that I created for that. And so when I go to like write an email or a product listing or a sales page or whatever it might be, I'll put the request into that GPT, and then I'll open another GPT that's trained on specifically like email copywriting, and I'll put the same request in it. So sometimes I have like 5 different GPTs, and I'm giving it all the same ask, and then I'm kind of taking bits and pieces from what I liked about this one, knowing that they're all kind of coming at it from different angles and using some different approaches and strategies. But that when I combine them together, that I get kind of the most compelling, powerful message and copy. And I feel like it also brings a little more human element to it, and is a little bit more effective for me than just having one thread where I'm going back and forth with the same conversation.
So, Kate, I don't know if you saw, but part of the updates last week is that now in a chat in ChatGPT, you can reference another custom GPT.
Oh, love it. I did not see that. Yeah. So you mean you can reference the conversation in another custom GPT?
You can like pull up another custom GPT in the chat. You like do the @ and then you type the name of it. I haven't really played around with it too much, but
yeah. Okay, I'm gonna
yeah.
have to try that. That would be very helpful because I do have like 5 tabs then open at a time.
I do the same thing, Kate. So that's a very helpful tip, Liz. And it made me think when you were answering this, Kate, like, yeah, you're getting different angles from different GPTs. I do the exact same thing. I also like to get it to brainstorm what are some of the angles I could talk about with this, and it sometimes gives me ideas that I wouldn't think of naturally off the top of my head. But what is really important is when we are looking at it from all these different angles, it's really easy to get overwhelmed. It's really easy to think I need to talk about it in all these ways. And I think the most important thing to remember is that it's just there to help us. It's there to make suggestions. We know our audience. We know the work that we do best, and we get to make those executive decisions. I think it's an assistant, but at the end of the day, like, we get to pick and choose, like, oh, that thing from that chat mixed with that thing from that one, combine them, and that's the way that I want to go. And I just think really, really important to remember, like, our role in this, and AI as the tool and the assistant, but absolutely I ignore like loads of the suggestions it gives me because I just don't think that's not quite right for my audience, or that's not where I want to go.
Yeah, I think this conversation we have a lot. Destiny, go ahead. And
No, I don't want to interrupt you. Go ahead, finish.
I was just going to say that I think that a lot of times we find ourselves, and even we've heard from some of our clients using our own GPTs and bots and stuff, that we're outsourcing our own discernment sometimes to these robots. And that it's really important that, like, yes, they can help you and they can give us so many great ideas or new ways of saying something. And, there's so much benefit, but that ultimately, like, your brain and your intuition still matter and or still that it knows your business best. It's kind of like being a parent. It's like, your kid best. You know what's going to work for them and what's like, yeah, that might work for those kids, but not my kid. And so I feel like just bringing that mindset into is like Ruth said, it's a tool, it's a guide. It is not the end all be all. It's not a, excuse to like not have to think for yourself or for your own business anymore either.
I agree completely with all of that. I did want to go back and answer the question. I pulled it up right now that they had sent through. I want to know about your workflow for creating AI-assisted edited landing pages. One thing I did want to mention, and this is something I have done several times, just to really go back and look at like either a landing page, like a sales landing page, or even your website. You can pull in to the AI, whether it's Claude or ChatGPT, pull in like your Google Analytics and pull in screen like shots or PDFs of your website, and it will go through and analyze it for you and give you suggestions on what to improve there. Notebook, LM or LM Notebook is another one that I've used for that. And that's been extremely helpful in looking at like landing pages, sales pages, any page that you're driving a lot of traffic to. So I highly recommend doing something like that if you really need help optimizing there.
Yeah, that's great. I use this tool called Poppy, and I'll drop a link to it in the chat. But it basically, you can train it on YouTube videos and some kinds of links and documents that are not fully capable in just regular ChatGPT right now. And then it also has, like, you can use Claude, ChatGPT, you can use Gemini, you can use Grok. There's a bunch of different AIs, language models that you can use in there. And anyway, one of the things that I'll do to kind of train mine, and this is a helpful like workflow for when I'm editing something, is I will upload, like, I'll go to YouTube and I'll find, like, let's say I'm looking for the best like copy conversion tips in 2025, and I'll pull like 5 of the most popular videos. I'll drop those links into Poppy, and then I will ask it to kind of summarize the key points, make a checklist for like what the strategy is for this. And then after I've got that, like, now I've got the strategy here, then I will take my existing sales page, for example, and I'll say, now edit this sales page given the strategies talked about in these videos. And so that's been another way that can be really helpful when you're not starting something from scratch, but taking something that you already have and wanting to make it better. Okay, we've got a question here that I'm going to skip around to real quick because I think this one is a juicy one. Should I create custom GPTs for my customers or teach them how to create one? How would y'all answer this? Steph, since you have been doing a lot, let's hear from you.
Yeah. So, well, first I put a link in the chat that it will take a full page screenshot of your landing page. So like that's what I use every single time I'm creating landing pages. I just take the full screen and I pop that in ChatGPT and say, tell me how I can make this better. So then I'm not having to take like manual screenshots of all of the sections. But in terms of creating custom GPTs for them and or teaching them how to create one, I think it just depends on your business, honestly, because I think everybody can create custom GPTs or any other kind of AI tools for their students, for their customers. I think that's a non-negotiable. It's so easy to do now. Like literally there's so many different videos you can watch to learn how to do it. However, teaching them how to create one is a completely different ballgame, because then you are positioning yourself as like a quote unquote tech expert. So if that's what you want to do, if that's who you want to be, great. But be ready for a lot of questions, be ready for a lot of tech support, Okay. And I'm telling you this as somebody who has a software company. It's a whole different ballgame that you're playing. So just approach it with caution and understand that if you start saying that you are going to teach people how to do that, that's what you're going to become known as. So if you don't want to become known as the person who's teaching people how to create custom GPTs, then don't. Like, you don't have to do that. However, I do think that you should have them in your programs.
Yeah, just to like, that's exactly what I was going to really say is that your niche, teaching people this sort of thing? If it's not like, if you're in the personal finance niche, you give them a budget spreadsheet or a budget GPT, you're not teaching them how to build the spreadsheet, right? Like, because that's not what they need. They need to be able to use it. And so, if you're a B2B space, yeah, maybe that's more likely where teaching them how to create one would be useful, or, position you in that space that you want to be. But if you're doing B2C, or you're doing something that's completely, where using the GPT is going to be more helpful to them than building their own, that I think that's that line is, what's your niche? What are you actually trying to do or be known for, like Steph said?
Yeah, really good point.
Something that we talked about in one of our recent mastermind sessions was this idea that a lot of people are very overwhelmed with learning stuff and all of the things on their plate, and giving someone a GPT to use to get results faster is not something else they have to learn. It's something they can just run with and take action with, versus learning how to create a GPT. Obviously, there are definitely circumstances when it is worth doing that, but that's a whole other thing, right? So there's that to consider as well. If we're thinking about what are the results that I want to facilitate in my programs and in my offers, how can I help people get there faster and with less friction? Often giving them a GPT to use, or a bot, whatever it is, versus teaching it is probably the way to go. Obviously not always, but often.
And I think this circles back to something that comes up in our conversations a lot too, which is that, like we said, information is kind of cheap these days. People can go to AI and ask it anything. We can have it create an SEO plan. So things like selling an SEO course, which used to be really easy for me to do, are now much harder. But if I can add a custom GPT to my course that is trained on my SEO strategies, that now people can just say, I need help writing a blog post about X. How do I make this SEO optimized? And it's already trained by me how to do that. Again, it's getting people these better, faster results. I think that's how we don't get left behind. And why, when we have been having, at least me and my email list have been having a lot of conversations about, there's a lot of people who are either against AI or hesitant or feeling behind or overwhelmed with it and just not utilizing it the way that it could be. And so we're talking a lot about, like, you can either not use it and be left behind, or like it's here, it's happening. And so how can you make the most of it, and how can you do it and still, I mean, obviously I just wrote a blog post actually about the ethics of AI being trained on stolen content. And so when we're looking at an inherently kind of unethical tool, is the answer to not use it at all? Or is it to find a better way to live with it and to advocate for better policies and things? And so obviously I'm here hosting the Summer of AI. I think you can guess how I feel about it. But I wonder too, if there's anything y'all want to add just sort of about this like ethical dilemma that seems to come up a lot.
Well, I think, I always like to comment on this, especially with the legal aspect of things. And I would agree with that, Kate. Like, we can't really change how the AI was built. There are laws being passed currently about the ethics and how these tools build to prevent, systemic racism and other issues that we see, because the machine is learning and, what content is out there. And so there's laws that are being put out there to be like, you can't use AI to make these decisions, or if you're doing it to make these decisions, which, like, from a hiring perspective, for example, you have to make sure these safeguards are in place to make sure there isn't some inherited or unintended discrimination, basically. And then on the flip side of that, so when it comes to copyright, currently, at least in the US, anything you create with ChatGPT is not, you can't copyright it right away. Like, it has to have your own kind of human authorship to it. There are some laws floating out there of depending on the amount of prompting and things like that, just with the reality of how AI is developing. And so I think it's a lot easier to kind of do when you're talking about writing or coding or whatever the case may be. I personally don't, for that reason, have not touched like AI image generation because I was like, there's no copy. Like, you've seen stuff generated that you can see an artist's signature that's like warped, which I think is just really messed up. I think, computers can absolutely come up with words, but they can't pick up a paintbrush. And the fact that AI generated images are not copyrighted, and there was very clear case law on this. The guy like built the image generator, but they said what it produced could not be copyrighted. So from that aspect, I steer clear of image generation. Personally, I know a lot of people love it. I know there's a lot of like pros to it, but because there, is just I think that's where you're really going to start to see the legal. I saw an article the other day. I think Disney and Marvel are suing Midjourney for copyright infringement there. So I think image is going to be a lot easier to prove, theft and copyright infringement. And so for that reason, I steer clear of that. But from the ethics point, I've brought it up, like, what are you feeding into ChatGPT? And are you feeding it into a custom GPT where you have a little more control over its learning off of what you do versus just a regular ChatGPT conversation? We've had, we've discussed that where I'm like, I feel more comfortable if I'm going to take like a course, element that I've learned. I'm like, hey, can you give me the highlight? I want to put that in a custom GPT that I'm not training the AI on this person's intellectual property. Because it's a smart way to do it. It's a smart way to implement when you're learning from all these, informational courses. But at the same time, there's that line of where am I infringing on their intellectual property by putting it into the AI?
Yep. It's really, lots of big questions that oftentimes I think we don't even think about. Like we just do it. Oh my gosh, this is so cool. I know I've fallen into that trap plenty with AI. And so I think it's good to pause and reflect and just like make sure you even understand like, well, how is AI image generation? How does that work? I didn't really think about that before. So anyone else want to comment anything ethics before we move on? Okay. So let's see. How about some other unusual business or personal ways you have used AI? I feel like, Tara, you've got some really interesting ways that you've created, and now you're doing a lot of these tools too. Do you want to share some ideas?
Oh, do I? Yeah, I use it a lot. I'm trying to think of like specific, like fun ways that I could share. Like that tool that I shared, I created that entirely with AI, like an AI tool built that without me having to know code, which is fantastic. I just brought my marketing knowledge and experience of how I want the tool to look, how I want it to function, how I want it to be built. Um, yeah, when we were talking about images, I was also like going back to like the ethics and the image generation and like the trends. I'll admit I did the trend of like what would my dog look like as a human. um yeah, I don't know. I'm doing lots of fun things. I can't think of anything else.
Yeah, I think there's Destiny. Go ahead.
No, I'll comment on a couple things, but Tara, you use the Lovable app, right?
Yes,
To do
yeah.
your thing, yeah.
I used to use Pickaxe, but now I'm using Lovable because it just I find it easier.
Yeah, so that's one that I love to do those kind of no code type apps. Manus is another one. I think it was Manus. Was that the one that we were talking about, Kate?
Yeah.
Was it Manus? So Manus is another one that I thought they're, pretty far along in their no code app generation. What I love about those no code apps is you can do some unique things like in your course or your membership. Like one of the things that I am working on, it's not been released. I'm certainly not there yet, but is basically one of those no code apps for fixing your funnel. So putting your information in there, maybe it's screenshots of your sales page and different pages that you have in your funnel, uploading your data like your Google Analytics and have it go through that whole funnel and do it. And you can build stuff like that with those no code apps. So that's definitely a really good application. So if you could start thinking about your coaching programs or, courses, memberships, how you can implement stuff like that. One of the things that I did, and I used a tool off of AppSumo to do this, was LouiseBot, and I did an AI voice clone. And I actually had somebody reach out to me yesterday, and she had been using it, and she sent me everything that particular clone had basically told her. So she took the transcript and sent it over to me, and it was kind of really cool to see how that clone was answering. She was like, Destiny, I really felt like you were sitting next to me, because it almost felt like your voice was talking back to me. So it was kind of a cool situation there. The other thing that I've been doing is in our membership using these AI type bots to do the onboarding, to kind of guide people to where they need to go in their membership based on where they are in their journey. So like in the Newsletter Profit Club, I have people coming in that are, have 70,000 people on their email list, and I have people that, are just starting out. So I really need to kind of point them to different resources in the membership. And I've been using those AI bots to do that.
Yeah.
One thing you made me think of when it comes to like the apps, for me, it's really about looking at your programs. Like I've definitely put every single lesson transcript of a course into my custom GPT, and I'll say like, what kind of app or tool can I create that is going to help people go through this and actually take action? And it usually gives me a bunch of ideas, which is fantastic. But I've also I created a more simplified version of Ad Event because I really didn't want to pay that much just for something to have people add to their calendar. But I hated using Google Calendar. I wanted something simple that worked and was pretty. So that's where I created that. So I think it's also about like, what can I create that is going to help me? So like I'm in the process of creating a new app for creating private podcast feeds. And that's a huge project, but it's probably about 70% done. So if there's any tool or anything that you're like, I wish it had this function, or I wish I could do this, like that's also where you can start to look into the possibilities of what you could create for yourself and for your students, your audience.
And just to be clear, like the difference between like a custom GPT and these kind of no code tools is that like a GPT is giving you output like content, like writing or ideas or images or something like that. Whereas these tools are actually like doing the thing for you, or they're acting as like a piece of software would. So I just want to make sure that that's clear to anybody who's like, why would you do a tool versus a GPT? They definitely serve very different functions. And both those links that I dropped, Lovable and however we say this other one, Manus.
I think Manus is right. That sounds right.
Okay. Those are both two very popular ones. And I think a lot of us in this group have tried Lovable and had really good success. And you can create really simple things also just for your personal use. Like one of my favorite things that I've created is my spiritual therapist GPT. And it's trained on like, I'm very woo, I'm very into mindset and thought work. I love me a good Byron Katie, the work. And so I trained this GPT on, these processes and even on some books. And so now like I can go to this therapist GPT, which I do on a daily basis. And, I can talk to it about like, I had a fight with my husband and I need to work through this, or I'm feeling such and such way about the way this launch went, or whether it's something in my business or I'm struggling, my kid's having a lot of meltdowns, or I'm melting down now. Like I use it constantly. And I feel like it took me 15 minutes to make, and I use it every single day, and it has really been so helpful for me. So even just creating like little things that can make your life better, easier.
That's what I was actually going to share because you asked like personal things, in addition to work. I created like a movement custom GPT because I'm just trying to be more active. And so I can be like, give me a 15-minute workout. And then it'll be like, do burpees. I'm like, well, I'm not doing that. Give me another exercise. Like, I don't do burpees. No, thank you. Hate them. Give me some other exercises. So I'm getting a workout that I'll enjoy that isn't like I'm not having to follow some strict plan or anything. It's just like moving more. And it knows what my like goals are in terms of like my physical and fitness goals, and so it's like these are ones that are going to work towards those goals but that you don't hate, or I can be like, I don't have that much time, what can I do, so it's just a really quick and easy. I don't even have to think about, well, what should I work out, what should I do. It's just, hey, give me 15 or 20 minute workout, tell me what to do, with my goals in mind. And if I don't like an exercise, it'll swap it out.
Yep, I love it. Steph, I'm sure you've created some cool personal use things.
I do. Yeah, I was going to say along the same lines of like everybody. It's like I ask myself, what problems do I have in my life? How can I fix it? And I'll create an app for it. So one of the most recent ones that I created, it's all about rest, because I could talk about this for a really long time, but I struggle resting because I didn't know what resting was like. I'm from like a workaholic family, so it's very hard for me to rest. And some days I'll only have between like working and my little kids, like some days I literally only have like 2 minutes that I get for myself. So I was like, okay, how can I create an app to help me with this? So I literally created an app that will help me rest in 30 seconds to 2 minutes. And I started telling people about this, and they're like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to rest. How can I do that? And then I just started selling it. Right. So I think it's first, and it's just like business too. It's like when you create any type of offer, it's like, what problem can you solve for yourself first, whether that's inside of business or in your personal life, and then create something to solve that problem. That's literally all entrepreneurship is finding problems and solving those problems in one way or another. Yeah, I'll put the link. It's called My Rest Reset. I'm very proud of it. So I'll put that down here for you guys.
Created this like quietly, and then just, oh guys, here's my new app, and it's amazing. So I mean, Steph is a tech whiz, so I'm not saying that it's that easy, but I do feel like it is not something that has to take you months and years of time like it used to be to create your own app. It is something that depending on your skill level can actually be done relatively
so
fast.
I created that one in 2 days, and it's so funny that you said that, Kate, because my mom, she used to work in IT. So she worked in IT for 40 years. She did like coding stuff for the first like 20 years, and then she was in management after. But I was telling her about it. I was like, hey, look at this app that I made. She's like, oh, like, did that take you like 6 months, 8 months? But I was like, I built it in 2 days. And she was like, how? So like I pulled up the platform and I was showing her, and she's like, this is completely unbelievable, because we pay our developers, or we were paying our developers like $20,000-$30,000 to create things like this. So the fact that we now have this ability to create things on our own is incredible. Like, yes, I do have like knowledge of this, so that comes in handy. So if you don't have that knowledge, it's going to take you longer, but that's fine. It's just another skill that you learn, right? So I just think it's so cool.
So, along the topic of rest, one question that we've also been hearing a lot in our communities, and sometimes even feeling ourselves, is where do I even start if I feel behind already with AI? And so, Ruth, I know this is something that we've talked about a lot, and some of people in your community were feeling this way too, like, oh my gosh, I've already missed the boat. So many people are already feeling that way, which always makes me laugh, because it's just like, I remember when people were saying they missed the blogging boat, back in 2015. And then it was like, wow, if you tell yourself that, is totally a self-defeating, and self-fulfilling prophecy. But yeah, Ruth, what would you say to those people that are feeling like, oh, even hearing all of these ideas, I just feel behind, I'm just learning?
I'm glad that you brought this up, because I was thinking this as everyone was sharing their ideas. I was thinking, I bet there's people here, I mean, even me, who are listening and be like, oh, I haven't done something like that. Or I don't even know where to start with that. Or, oh, it's all so much. And I think this is the thing. We have all been playing with this and having regular meetings in our mastermind group, and we're like diving into it, and we don't even know what we still don't know. Like, there's so much that we could get into. And I think what's really important for us to remember is, yes, AI is here. And I do think it's worth considering how we can use it not just to boost our business, but also to support ourselves and our own capacity. But we don't have to do it at once. Even the people who are at the forefront of AI are still dealing with really fast changes right now, And, we don't have to be everything to everyone. Like if we are in a space where people are asking us questions about how do we do this with AI or like whatever, like we don't have to know everything. Like it's okay. I mean, we are in like B2B areas, so we feel that very strongly. Like we should know everything, but we don't have to, right? It's okay. And I think as well, like I love playing with all this AI stuff. And I signed up to all these newsletters and I get all the AI updates and stuff. But sometimes I just have to take a break from it because I guess it's a huge technology advancement like of our time. And it's a lot, Probably, I'm sure that like our grandparents can relate to like how they felt about computers and all this. Yeah, the internet, everything. It's huge. It is big. And we're never going to learn it all. I don't know everything about the internet. I've been on the internet since I was a kid. I don't know everything about it. But I just think we need to be kind to ourselves, how can we use it to support us? And where do we just say, you know what, I'll leave that for a while. I was pretty overwhelmed when ChatGPT first came out and everyone was using it. And I was just like, you know what, I'm going to take my time with this. It's okay. Now I'm well into it, obviously. But things could still change at any time. And don't get me started on like the rabbit hole of thoughts and feelings around AI taking over the world and all of that stuff. We all have these we don't know. It is unknown for everyone, even the experts. I don't know if that's helpful at all, but I also saw like someone in the chat was saying like, I'm sorry for asking this basic question. Nicole just said that in the chat. Like, don't be sorry. Like, it's absolutely fine. And my best advice for anyone who is really overwhelmed and thinks it's really too techy or whatever is things like ChatGPT are literally designed for us to have conversations with them. Even these app building tools, they are built on conversations. So if we just remember that it's not about actually being a tech expert, it's not about coding and all of this, it's about having conversations. The more you talk to it, the more you obviously practice it and it gets to know you and your voice and your values and all of that as well. So if you can just be open to experimenting and talking, and if it gets it wrong, just say that, just talk. And also you can get, for example, ChatGPT to say like, I don't even know where to start. I have this business. I'm wondering how I could incorporate AI in a way that isn't overwhelming to me. Can you ask me some questions to help me figure this out one step at a time, but being really mindful that I am overwhelmed. So don't suggest too much. So that is my best advice as well. You can literally get the AI to figure it out alongside you in the conversation.
I think one of the most common questions ChatGPT gets, I read this somewhere, is how can I use ChatGPT? And it's like literally just people going to the source and saying like, I don't even know what I can do with this. And I think one common theme you've heard from a lot of us is like, we'll say, Tara said, I have this course. Here's what it is. What tools could I create? Like you don't have to have the answer. You just have to be willing to ask a question. And your question can be, I don't know. What should I ask you? And it can help you figure it out. So I love that advice, Ruth. And just start having conversations with it. Don't even make a goal of needing to start using AI to write all of your emails or adding custom GPTs to your courses. Like just start using it in your personal life. Use it instead of using Google and see what happens. Like that's, I think, how a lot of us just got started with just like, oh, interesting. So I could just like ask it a question about, what's a tripwire? And it would just start giving me some information. And from there, it snowballs. Destiny, you have something to add?
It was really just what you just said. Like you literally took the words out of my mouth.
I'm so sorry.
Go to Google, go to ChatGPT, and just start having conversations with it. And really, that's all you're going to need to do. You're going to learn so much by doing that and figuring out how you can implement it in your personal life and your business. It's really it's a conversational tool. And those no-code apps, like what Tara was talking about earlier with Levital, literally, I'm not a coder. I don't have, a ton of skills there. I have a little bit of skills, I just went in and started typing in, here's what I want it to do. What do I need to do? What kind of questions do you have for me? And I just started having a conversation with it, and it just started building the freaking thing for me. So
yeah, that's what Tara said in the chat. She always asks, what do you need from me? What questions do you have for me in order to do this? So I think that's a really good question to ask too. If you give it an instruction to do something and it gives you back crap output, to say, okay, that was not it. What else do you need from me in order to give me something better here? Because a lot of times, like, I think I still see this on, being advertised and stuff. People talk about how it's all about your prompts and your output's only as good as your input. And obviously, like, prompts do matter, but if it doesn't have the information it needs from you to give you the output, this is why we create, like, the brand iOS is something that we created in my group this week, which is essentially like a brand voice guide that you're giving it so that when you say, write me an email about this, it can actually write like you, instead of just being like, well, I can write you any kind of email. Like, who do you want it to sound like? What kind of style do you want it to be in?
Can I share a very recent example that goes along with what you were saying, Kate?
Yeah.
So I just sent out this morning an email that has gotten dozens and dozens of replies. And the email was basically, I put into ChatGPT about like, my dogs are trying to turn me into a morning person. Basically, the start of the email was about my dog farting so loud that he woke me up at 6:30 in the morning. And I was like, how can we turn this into a business lesson and write this email? And that worked perfectly. And then I saw how awesome that email was doing. And so I went back into that chat and I was like, okay, what are some other questions you have for me so that I can give you more stories to create funny kind of emails like this that will lead into value content or business lessons? And now I have like 10 emails that are hilarious.
I love that. That's perfect. Yeah. It's oftentimes taking something that, like, okay, this worked. Now help me replicate this. And maybe first, I love that you actually asked it, ask me questions, because instead what I think a lot of us would do is like, man, that story was so good. I don't have any other stories like that. And then we would just like walk away from it. But you're like, I know they're in there somewhere. I just need to be prompted. So draw it out of me, ChatGPT.
Yeah, I actually have a custom GPT that helps me write emails based on stories. So yeah, it's great.
Perfect. Okay, Liz, this question is for you, our resident legal expert. Where's the copyright line with private GPT use? Sometimes the model suggests really polished phrases, and I want to make sure I'm not accidentally using something I shouldn't.
I mean, so like I said earlier, you're not going to be able to copyright anything that's straight out of GPT, at least at this time. The question then I think is what you're really asking is make sure you're not infringing on someone else's copyright or trademark potentially. And there's not really a way to know. I mean, you can put it through, there's like plagiarism checkers out there. You could put it through plagiarism checker. That's one way to make sure. As far as trademarks go, you'd have to like do a search though. So, but I think rarely are you getting an output that's like a trademark, because trademarks are usually like a word mark or a phrase. It's not going to be like a long thing, in which case a plagiarism checker or an I think I use originality.io or something, that I will make sure nothing is, being plagiarized. So that's kind of there's not a great answer to that, but that's kind of where it's at currently. I don't know if that answers the question enough, but
Yeah. I don't know if anybody else wants to jump in here. I certainly am not a legal expert, but I think the best you can do is use it more for editing, brainstorming ideas rather than copy pasting exact output. And then, yeah, if you want to take it a step further, put it through some kind of plagiarism checker. I just saw something on AppSumo for that. So there are tools out there that exist. You could check it out. This was a question somebody submitted in advance. Maybe it was from someone in your audience, Ruth. So I'm not sure if you understand it better than I do, but the question is there potential in future tech-free AI breaks, maybe even groups or movements like that?
Yeah, I wasn't 100%, but I wondered if it was something to do with some sort of like, not anti-AI, but this is how I'm reading it. I don't know about you all. Like AI less time or
Social
retreats
media
or something
detox.
like that.
It's like
Yeah.
an AI detox. Like we're all going to go a whole month without using AI.
I mean, this brings up a whole thing because AI is in everything. Like you want customer service, right? There's an AI bot on every single website that you have to get through first, or every single customer help desk and all of this stuff. And I think it's snuck in places that we don't even realize as well. So, I mean, that probably opens up a whole can of worms. I can imagine that there will be a whole thing about it, but yeah, I don't know if anyone else has any thoughts.
One thing that comes up for me is just thinking like, I mean, I'm not on social media, so I'm all about you do you. If AI is not feeling good to you, you don't need to use it if you don't want to. But I also feel like there's no badge of honor or like trophy you get for being like, I don't use AI to write any of my copy. Like, okay, that just took you longer then. Like, I don't know. I don't feel like that's anything to necessarily like brag about. Like, I think sometimes we're like trying to take this moral high ground sometimes when really it's like you're just kind of hurting yourself in this. Like, it's one thing to just put in a very simple prompt to an untrained AI and say, write me an email, about the Summer of AI panel, and just copy paste whatever garbage it spits out. Like, obviously, I don't think there's any reason to brag about that, but I also just feel like, I don't know, thinking about, the ethics of it all and like, where is this feeling even stemming from? And like, is it more that you just want a tech free break? Is it more specific to AI? I don't know. I think, like Tara said, you'd have to detox from the entire internet to stop using AI. Like, you'd have to detox from everything. It is literally baked into everything, even things we don't realize. You can't watch Netflix. Their whole platform is using AI to recommend things for you. It's just everything that we do, and it's only going to get more so.
Maybe a helpful way of taking this question is to think about that human connection, because I don't know about you all, but like I'm noticing AI comments on social media, AI posts on Reddit, and I'm just like, I don't know what the purpose is sometimes of these posts that people are putting up. But I think it's definitely important for us as business owners to think, how are we going to provide something that AI can't? And that human to human connection for sure is one of those things. And I'm guessing, in person, I don't know if this is what the person asking the question meant, but like in-person retreats and get-togethers and support to take action, all of this kind of stuff. I mean, I say it as I say it, I'm like, AI, there's going to be AI stuff that's going to do this thing, some of that for us. But yeah, this human to human connection, I think, is an important thing to think about. As much as I love the AI stuff, I still feel like there's a difference in getting coached by ChatGPT and getting coached, face to face by someone, for example. So it probably is worth thinking of it in that way, and how can we bake that stuff into our offers and the way we do business.
Right. Like, even the spiritual therapist that I use on a daily basis, I also still pay my regular therapist to go in person and talk to her. There is something that you can never replace, that ineffable energy of being with other humans. So I think, some of that is unfounded / like that will always be there. People will still always want that. Destiny, you want to add something?
No, I was just going to say, I think like doing events like what we're doing here, the live workshops, I changed my whole business model last year because I kind of saw where AI was taking us. And I knew that people wanted more of that personalized support, that human interaction. And I think it's going to just get more prevalent as we move forward. So I would just encourage everybody to start thinking about your own your own programs and figure out, what changes do you want to make personally?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's exactly what we've been talking about for months now, is like, okay, I think everybody, if you follow any business coach or consultant in 2025, you probably heard some version of like, this is a weird year. Things aren't selling the way that they used to, not necessarily better or worse, just different. And I know that we talk about it a lot, and I hear it from, plenty of other entrepreneurs that I follow. And I think that is a big part of what we're seeing. And so, if you've noticed, like if you're on my list, you see that I do live get it done weeks every single month now. Like that is something that I've been doing for the last 13 months now. And I don't think that it would be as popular as it is if it weren't for AI. And so it's interesting, like it's also bringing up these questions of how to create scalable business models when people actually want you now. Like for a long time, it was all about, oh, you can create a one-to-many offer, and that can be a digital product, it could be a course, a template, a tracker, a million different things. And it's not that those don't work anymore, it's just that they're different, and what people are looking for is different. And so I think, yeah, kind of analyzing your business model is going to be part, which it always is, right? Like when the internet first came around, that changed everything. And then blogging was a big thing. Then social media came out. Like that's just part of being an entrepreneur, is also just always kind of like having to evolve as technology, economy, environment changes.
I just want to add something to that and comment on what Tasha said in the thread. She says, I worry about creating a custom GPT that will compete with my own services. How do I feel confident in creating something that kind of fits within the whole ecosystem without replacing me? So I don't think that AI is ever going to replace you. Like you are certainly unique. I actually got a question from one of my clients yesterday. She was using my AI clone, and she was the one who sent me all the information. She's like, Destiny, when do you want me to use this versus when do you want me to submit a form for you to answer it via the private podcast feed? Great question, right? When would that AI clone like replace me? And what I told her was kind of use the AI clone to get some, to see if it answers your question. But what I told her was I have some extra perspective, because she had sent me all of that content. I said, I have some extra perspective and I want to answer your specific question on my private podcast. And this perspective, the AI is not going to pick up on. So that's kind of how I left it with her. Didn't really answer her question necessarily, because her question was, when do I use that versus sending in the question via the form? But I don't know. It was a very interesting perspective, and it kind of went along with what she was saying there.
I just want to add, because I commented, I was being completely serious when I said you could brainstorm with this chat GPT. It wasn't sarcasm. It's because I think everyone in the mastermind knows I've been going through like streamlining and like retiring things in my business and figuring out where do new offers fit and align. And where I have one that I'm like, well, I feel like that really kind of impedes on this other offer. I like worked it through with ChatGPT of like, how can I position this? Like, how does that really fit if this is the direction I want to go? Like, I was being completely serious. I know it was funny to respond to, but it was also a completely serious suggestion. So just wanted to point that out.
I want to go back to Destiny, to what you said, because thinking about your own workflow. So I get this question too, and I have the same fear. I can't remember. Tasha asked the question. So sometimes I have the same fear of like, if I create all of these GPTs, then would anybody ever hire me for coaching anymore? And one of the things that I've noticed is that even when I use ChatGPT to help me answer a question, like Destiny, I'm curious, when somebody submits something for your private podcast, my guess is that the first thing you do is put their question into your GPT and say, how could I answer this, or give me some ideas? That's what I do, at least, is like I start getting ideas first, or I'll say, I've got these 3 ideas, or I want to answer it this way. Help me, kind of draft a script. But sometimes what it pushes out, I'm like, no, I don't agree with that. And I have to bring my own discernment in and say, okay, yeah, that's not going to work for this person, or that goes against my values of this, or I actually teach this strategy instead. And so I feel like AI is always going to have its limitations because it's not your actual brain. And no matter how much information we upload to it, it can never actually truly be you.
Yeah, so to answer your question, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Mm-hmm. It kind of just depends. If I want more of like a more polished type response, I will definitely go to ChatGPT. And sometimes I just wing it. Like I get their question, I just, think through it, and I answer it, and I, send it back to them. So it kind of really just depends on if I feel like I need a little bit more kind of perspective, because sometimes I do. I need to like look at it from different angles, and sometimes I know that answer right then.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's, I mean, for me, again, it's so much more of a brainstorming tool, or like, what are some other ways to think about this, or how could I say this a different way than it is to just like replace anything 100%. Okay, let's keep moving. We got a couple other questions here. So,
Can I just say, I think we missed out one, which was, where was it? Are custom GPTs actually a sustainable offer, or will the tech shift again soon?
the tech will shift. What it will shift to or what it will mean, who can say? What do y'all think?
I don't think any of us know what it's going to look like. Honestly, I cannot believe how much things have changed since the beginning of this year. Like even from fourth quarter of last year, I feel like it's moving so fast. I don't even know what it's going to look like by the end of this year.
Mm-mm.
And
I think there will always be tech. Oh, sorry, Ruth. There will always be tech, right? So like, just know that it's going to be how it is, and it will just get infinitely better. That's really the only guarantee that I think we have, right? But your guess is as good as mine.
Mm-hmm.
exactly. And I think what we need to do is decide, is this a worthwhile endeavor for what I want to do now? And all of us who are building custom GPTs, for example, or any kind of AI, non-coding apps or whatever, the more we're playing with it, the better we're getting at it. Like I know with the information I've created in my courses, for example, I can program a custom GPT quite easily with that information, and I'm familiar with writing the instructions and all of that, and it feels like a worthwhile way to spend my time to add this onto my programs. And if down the line I realize that I'm spending a ton of time having to tweak things and change things and it doesn't feel worth it, then I get to reevaluate that decision. But I think as far as I think it's worthwhile doing it for yourself, because it's saving so much time. I've got custom GPTs that I use just for myself, and they're saving me so much time. It's definitely worth it, even if the tech changes in future, because the amount of time and effort that I have saved already is 100% worth it. And I know that my students, like, I released a custom GPT in my membership not that long ago, and it's had like over 100 chats already. I can see it from my ChatGPT account. I know that people are using them, and that I hope that they are getting further with the action they're taking as a result. So for me, it feels worth it. We could go down all kinds of rabbit holes of what if and what's going to change. And like I said, sometimes I do have to just shut the computer down and forget about it, because it does blow my mind a bit. Like Destiny was saying, everything changing, it's a lot. But I guess, yeah, is it worth it right now? For me, yes.
Agreed. How are you storing all of the prompts and chatbots you're coming across that might be useful at a later date?
So I've started using projects in ChatGPT and kind of putting everything under projects. So that's been helpful because it was getting to be a mess.
Yeah. Especially once you start creating, dozens of your own GPTs, let alone then maybe buying other people's or finding free ones. Even just that sidebar can become a lot. I would say for me, I haven't started using projects yet. For some reason, it's one of those things that every time I look at it, I'm like, I don't understand this. And then I don't spend time trying to understand it and I just move on. But I do text replacements a lot for like everything in my business and in my personal life, my social security number, my my bio, things that I have to fill out a lot. And so I've started doing that with prompts as well, where I have a prompt that's like, whatever the prompt is that I use every time I go to write this specific newsletter, then I just start writing those words, and then my text replacement thing comes in and fills it in. So that's been helpful for me, although I have to remember what's the text replacement for this thing again. So probably could be a better way to do that. And then I use the bookmarks I mean, this is like really basic tech, so I'm sure there's some fancier, better ways of doing this, but this is simple and works for me. I just have my bookmarks bar and I have a folder in there that's just called custom GPTs. And I just will add specific GPTs to that bookmarks bar. And then when I go looking for something, I just pull it up and go, okay, it was, the ouchie GPT that we found. And let me just go to that there. So that's been my very low tech way of organizing things.
I do think it's worth it to have if you use Google Drive, have a Google Drive folder. When you create like your custom brand voice documents, if you have screenshots that you're regularly uploading as part of conversations to get feedback, have it all in one place. And this is something I took far too long to actually just do. Have a folder in Google Drive. I've started setting up a Notion hub for different AI tools that I want to play with, or different prompts that have helped with a specific thing, or ideas that I have for custom GPTs I want to create. I've kind of categorized it all in Notion, and I felt a lot less overwhelmed with all the AI stuff swirling around my brain when I created that Notion hub. Obviously, you could use any tool. You could have a simple Google Doc with bullet points and headers, whatever. It really doesn't matter. But one thing I do want to say on the overwhelm is that I've stopped. I was following these Reddit groups for like cool prompts and stuff like this, and I just had to unfollow because there's so many cool prompts, and I was just like, I have to remember all these cool prompts. I'm like, no, I don't. There's a limit. Some of them I will save, but I don't need to know all of the prompts. And like I said earlier, it really is about having conversation. Like there are, don't get me wrong, very cool and powerful prompts, but you don't need to save all of them. Sometimes it's a bit of like FOMO and information overload going on. That was certainly true for me. So I'm sure that if I feel that way, other people feel that way as well. So just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's see. Oh, the dreaded M dash. So this is one of the things that I've heard this joke. I'm trying to think of who told this to me now, that like Gen Z is making fun of millennials and older for using ChatGPT, that they can tell because the M dash is always in ChatGPT output. And so I was like, oh my gosh, that's hilarious. This is like the sign of being old, is having M dashes in your content. That's so interesting that you've told it 100 times not to do it and it still does. We were just talking about this on one of my membership calls today, that sometimes like it's amazing what AI can do, and then you're like, why am I banging my head against the wall telling you the same very simple instruction and you are not getting it? So I don't have any solution for you other than just like sometimes it just doesn't, or like go in and do a search, find and replace, and just delete them from it after the fact. Liz, you got an idea?
I mean, I would say I share a similar problem where I'm like, look, the sign off of my emails should always be this, and it never does it.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter that it's a custom GPT, that it's built into the instructions. Like for some reason, it can't get my sign off right. It likes to make something up. And so for that, I just ignore and do my sign off. For yours, I would almost do like, okay, can you rewrite this exact email without M dashes, right? Like make it very specific to that output. Even copy and paste the email and be like, get rid of the M dashes, make it so it makes sense without them, right? Like, and see if that works. Because I used to be like, okay, hey, that's not my sign off, it's this, and it would switch it, but then it would revert back. And yeah, like Kate said, sometimes you're like, I don't know why it can't. It's like, why can't the kid close the cabinet door no matter how many times you ask them? It's the same thing, right? And it's just, it depends on how much brain power you have to fight it that day, or if you just want to find and replace.
That's what I was going to say too, actually, is like, embrace the M dash. That's my advice to you. It's like, don't fight it. Just go with the M dash. Destiny, you got something?
I don't know. I was using it before AI, so.
I know, me too.
I still like it.
This is something I was taught in journalism school. I love the M dash. Okay. When would you use Claude versus ChatGPT? Who wants to answer that?
Well, I've never really used Claude, so I don't really have an answer.
I will say that I don't pay for Claude, but I do pay for Poppy. And like I mentioned before, Poppy has a bunch of different language models in there. And I use Claude willy-nilly. I was going to say, like, I think it can be better for writing sometimes, but now that I've got my custom GPTs trained so well, I find that the writing is just as good. And I don't use Claude, like I don't ever go to just the Claude tool or the Claude website to do it. So I'm not the best person to answer that either. But Destiny, I think you do use Claude.
Well, that's so funny that you asked. So I have found that just in the past like 2 months, maybe, just here recently, ChatGPT, I feel like has improved dramatically in terms of its writing. Maybe it's just I've been training it better. I don't know. So I actually canceled my paid Claude subscription about 2 weeks ago because I wasn't using it because I was getting such good output from ChatGPT, and then I was creating all these custom GPTs, which were working really, really well for me. So I don't know. I'm not using it right now.
Yeah. Steph, Ruth, do either of you use Claude?
No, it's just another thing that I would have to organize and I want to.
Exactly. And I did hear that it was better for the writing piece, although I agree my ChatGPT is coming out with a lot better stuff. But like taking it back to this like overwhelm and like I don't know, it's okay, just pick a tool. Like I'm sure that you can train, like if you prefer Claude, I'm sure you can totally train it in the way that we train ChatGPT, and that will, like, there's no need to learn all of the things.
Yeah, absolutely. Which brings us to our last question, and I think is the perfect segue. Somebody asked like to steer them in the direction of how we started learning more about AI and ChatGPT and how we got to where we are now. So maybe we could each just kind of close out by sharing a little bit about some of our favorite resources. And I think all with the disclaimer that Ruth has generously shared throughout this, which is like, you don't have to do any of this. These are all just ideas, following what feels good to you, what resonates with you. Even Bree, I see your comment in the chat here that you're in an industry where AI is very contentious and you have to tread really lightly. And so maybe that means for you that it's not something that you're talking about externally. If you use it on, internally for your own purposes, if it makes your life better, easier, like maybe that's enough. Maybe you're going to be, pushing back against some of the contention. So I'm not saying there's one right way to do it, but just kind of inviting us all to think about like what is right for me and how much information is too much, which I think we can all get to that place of overstimulation, over input, and how much is like, this makes me feel like I'm learning some and I'm staying up to date and I'm getting ideas and it's helping me. And just making sure that we're really conscious of like when you cross that line between helpful into now I'm overwhelmed, now I don't want to do anything, now I feel bad about myself, all of that. So Liz, you want to start us off?
So with where I got started is I took a couple courses actually. So I took Nina Clapperton's like custom GPT course, and the whole purpose is to teach you how to build custom GPTs and sell them. And I've included them in some products, but I haven't just been selling custom GPTs. But it really gave me the background knowledge and empowered me of how to use the platform. And then another course I did from Kate at Hello Funnels on like building your own team, custom GPT team, which has been hugely helpful for me as well. And it just, once I got going with those, I started seeing all the other ways I could use it and building out and doing other things with it. And it's just, I mean, like I said in the chat, I'm going to be canceling Zapier because I've built out all these other automations because I was able to throw a code together with the help of ChatGPT that I just don't even need Zapier anymore. So
that's a really good use case that we didn't talk about too, Liz, that we talk about all the time in our group is like, we're having it write scripts and Airtable for us and update formulas and these different things that like none of us would ever have, even at least me, I would not have the faintest idea of how to write a custom code script for Airtable to do what Zapier can do.
Yeah, or the bandwidth to really hone that skill.
Right.
So yeah, like that is where, those courses helped me to get really comfortable with the platform, because I'm one of those people that like some people can like play around with the platform and just get the hang of it. I am not. I'm like, I don't know how I was like, I barely know how to DM an Instagram. Okay. Like, I'm not one of those people that just like can do something. My friends, I do Duolingo, and they're like, oh, well, did you like do this? You can freeze your streak or whatever. I was like, I didn't know that. I have no idea how to do that. Like, I'm just not one of those people, so I need someone to show me. And that I know that about myself, so I invested in a course to show me. But now that I've got that understanding, it's off to the races.
Oh, love it. Steph?
Yeah, so it's funny that you said that, Liz, because I am that person that will just, I would say, like, give me a platform, I'm going to figure out how to use it in the next hour. I am that person. That's just like how my brain works. So
I have printed out knowledge bases to like
yeah.
go through.
No, I'm not that person. That just makes me really stressed out thinking about that. But I'm not a good person to ask about this. I'll be honest, because I've never taken any courses about this. I've never like looked at any like blogs, or I did subscribe to a couple of newsletters, and it just got very overwhelming very quickly because I was just like inundated like daily or multiple times a day with like all of these things that I need to be doing right now in AI, or else I am falling behind. And I was like, nope, unsubscribing. Cannot handle that. So I don't have like any suggestions for this. I'll be honest, because like that's just not the type of person that I am. I will say, like, in general, if you find somebody that you resonate with that teaches in a way that makes sense to you, follow whatever that person is getting, just like everything else that you're learning, right? So yeah, find somebody who says it. I will also say in a simple way, because AI and like systems, automations, all of that, it can get very complex very quickly. So try to find people who are like really good at taking these really complex ideas and turning them into really, really simple ideas that you can implement in your business. That's also really key too. So I don't know if that's helpful, but that's been my experience.
Well, I mean, what I hear in that stuff also is like what Damla just said in her takeaway, that is that yours isn't about following certain people or keeping up with the Joneses of the AI. It's just getting in there and playing and learning as you go. And I think that's the best way to learn anything, right? Is just by doing. And I think if we could all go in with this mindset too of like, I'm in here to play and see like how cool would it be if I could do this, and like just being blown away by what you can do with it takes so much of the pressure off, or that feeling of I'm behind, or I'll never get this, or I'm just not techie enough. It's just like, just play around. It's really fun.
Yeah, that's one of the big things that I changed, I don't know, a couple years ago. I don't know what's happening like anywhere, to be honest, because I've like unsubscribed from so many emails. I don't follow anybody on like social media. I'm not in different Facebook groups. I've completely put blinders on and I'm just in my own world. There are pros and cons to that, but I would say there's more pros because I'm not getting distracted all of the time. And I think that's where a lot of people get held up, especially when it comes to AI, because there's so much out there. There's so much noise. So many people are claiming that they're the experts, right? Quote unquote experts. And it's very easy to not just get distracted, but to go down rabbit holes with people who don't actually know what they're talking about. They're just really good at marketing it, you know? So the more that you can stay in your own lane, like Kate said, just play and have fun with it, the better off you're going to be, honestly.
Yeah. Destiny, how about you? Who are some of the places where you've learned or other advice you have like this?
Yeah, so no, I haven't purchased any courses or anything like that. It really just was me trying to digging into my own business or businesses, and knowing that I really needed to figure my crap out because I was getting very overwhelmed, and I needed to automate as much as possible and help me use AI to basically get, streamline my business and simplify it. And, figuring out, here's somewhere where I could do that. And here's the AI tool that can help me with that. And, like with the memberships, how can I support my members better? And how can AI help me do that? Because I'm scaling right now 4 memberships and we're adding 1 more. So I've really got to get my act together there. So I just started digging into that and figuring things out and researching and playing around. And really, we've been, doing the weekly kind of mastermind calls that were specifically related to automations and AI and figuring this out. So that's been very helpful for me personally.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing, is like, get yourself some friends that are in a similar stage that you are. None of us, when we came into this, were like, we know everything there is to know about it. We came in like, I've been playing around with this. I feel like there's a lot of potential with this idea. Others of us in the group were like, yeah, I also wanted to improve my onboarding with AI. Maybe we could get together and figure out how to build some kind of GPT onboarding bot. And we just did that together. And this wasn't like, we don't pay to be in this group with each other. We're just made friends. And so get yourself some friends, and you can do that on your own. If you don't know anybody yet, you can join. Every one of us here has memberships and offers that you can join if you're looking for community and people who are doing similar things. So I think that's definitely been one of the best ways that I've learned, in addition to just getting in and playing myself. And I will say that Destiny turned me on to this newsletter, but Rick Mulready has a newsletter that he sends every week. And I find it to be incredibly simple and helpful with just like cool ideas. And sometimes I don't do anything with them and I just go like, oh, that's cool. Or like, I'll note that for later. And sometimes I go in and I create something that he's, suggested immediately. And I'm not a paying member of his membership. And there's a few that in our group, we talk about, oh, maybe we should join this membership on this. But I feel like we seem to keep ourselves plenty busy with the ideas that we come up with just together, that it's almost like, oh, I don't know if any of us, lack of ideas is not the problem. It's lack of time actually to implement the ideas. So, but yeah, Rick Mulready is one of the people that I like. And Brittany Long, I don't actually follow her, but she spoke at a summit that I was at recently, and her presentation was actually entirely AI, including like her video and her speaking and everything. And so I've just like looking at women in AI doing things, I think is amazing, talking about tech and getting, carving out a space for us there. And also people who are really pushing the envelope and doing cool things makes me just like, I'm not necessarily learning from her, but I am learning like through osmosis of just going like, ooh, how did she do that? That's cool. I wonder if that's something I want to try. And, figuring that out. I'll drop Rick's name in the chat, and Ruth, go ahead and close us out here.
I was going to say as well, our group has been so powerful. And one of the reasons why is that just having a place where we can be like, oh, I've been playing with this, but I have no idea about that. And like, it's so easy to think that you're behind, but actually what we find in our group is that we all bring something different to the table, or we're all playing with something different at different times. And it's been super, super helpful just to have that momentum to keep it up, but also back away from it when it gets really overwhelming. And I will say it's really helpful just to start with small things. I think probably where I got started was like when I was part of a course or something, and there would be an exercise and it would be like, oh, here are some prompts, you could do this in ChatGPT and see what it comes up with, just a small part of something, and then you get a feel for it, and then it becomes something bigger. I'm also going to host a summit in a couple of months in September called the Aligned AI Summit. So unfortunately there's no sign up for it now because it's not available yet. But there's definitely going to be some really cool people, and probably mainly, if not exclusively, women, talking about how they're using it in a heart-led way. So definitely look out for that in the future when it is ready for sign up.
Okay, great. Well, thanks y'all for being here with us. This was super fun. And I know that this group could talk about AI and tech and ideas all day long. I'm going to cut us off now, but thanks everyone for joining us. And please stay in touch. If you're on any of our email lists, you'll surely hear about Ruth's AI Summit coming up. Steph has her Art of Rest retreat happening in 2 days. And I know all of us have a bunch of stuff going on. I can't think any more off the top of my head, but stay tuned. And thanks for being here, everybody.
And Kate, thank you for hosting and being like our MC here.
You're welcome. I'm no Adam Lambert as the MC, but I did my best. All right, y'all. We'll see you later. Bye, everybody.
And don't forget, a few of these speakers are also speaking at my free Aligned AI Summit starting soon. So go get your free ticket at alignedAIsummit.com and check out the episode show notes to get all of the individual links for everyone who was featured in this panel. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of Soulful Sales. If you have a moment to rate and review, know that it really does make a difference. And if you'd like to carry on the conversation, then you can connect with me on Instagram at Ruth Poundwhite, sign up to my newsletter at ruthpoundwhite.com/newsletter, or my personal favorite, join me inside the low ticket membership at ruthpoundwhite.com/membership. And keep doing what you're doing because your work really does matter.